Hello fellow Hunters of the Blue, and welcome to my channel, and also welcome to EAVY Contrast Marines. This is a series where I try to paint a space marine using contrast paints plus highlights as close as I can possibly do to the Eavy Metal team paint jobs. And today I'm very happy because there is not a single drop of blue in this miniature. Today we are painting Blood Angels. Let's get cracking. We are starting from our base coat, in this case is Wraithbone. Try to do this base coat as uniform as possible using the spray can, because I noticed that the Wraithbone base paint does not color match very well. It's far darker than this one. So try to cover as much with the spray as you can. If you miss some spot, correct it, but please note that it won't be the same. And for our first step in our armor, I'm going to use Blood Angels Red. As always, apply this panel by panel and always in the direction you want the shadows to go. So start when you want light and end the brushstroke where you want more paint and a shadow. Just like that. And you can see how more paint gathers in the lower part than the upper side. That's what we want. Also, as I said, go panel by panel, trying to be neat. This will avoid tide marks and weird things. People always ask me how I managed to do a smooth coat in his solder pauldrons. I will try to show it now. So what I do is charge my brush quite a lot and apply as before in the same motion where I want the shadows to go. Once I have good coverage, I go and, with a clean brush, absorb the paint. We have our coat of Blood Angels Red dry, and I'm going to do a second one because I feel the color is a bit too pale. So for this one, try to do it as thin as you can. We just want to filter the color and make it more intense. Our second coat of Blood Angels Red is now dry, and it can happen that you have some rough areas or areas that you don't like how it's dried. Like for example here, I don't like that. I want this area to be in highlight. The same here, the transition is really splotchy. So what I like to do is take a bit of Epsom Scarlet and make a glaze out of it. Just thin it with water. We want this kind of consistency, you can see here. And just apply it in the opposite direction we did the contrast. So we want to end the glaze in the point we want more light. Do this in all the parts that you feel dried a bit too weird. I will probably do 2 coats of this. I did a couple of passes with Epsom Scarlet, and you can clearly see that the color match is almost perfect. And now I'm going to start to highlight the model. And for this I'm going to do an edge highlight with Wild Rider Red. In rounded parts like this, I like to glaze with Wild Rider Red to create a light spot. Just here. Just as with the Epsom Scarlet, move the glaze the direction you want the paint to deposit. This will create a super nice light reflection there that looks super realistic. I'm also doing that in parts like this, as well as edge highlighting it, of course. Our highlight of Wild Rider Red is now done. I'm going to move to the next stage. This is Fire Dragon Bright, and I'm just going to apply it in the same way. Just concentrating on the most exposed edges. Our highlight of Fire Dragon Bright is now finished, and I'm going to move to the last highlight. For this I'm using Luganath Orange, and this will be a dot highlight or a corner highlight. We're just doing small dots of this in just the most prominent corners of the miniature. With our final highlights now done, I'm going to move into base coating all the black rubber parts of the armor. For this I'm using Corax White. You have to be very careful with this step. Try not to go into the red. But if you do, just knead up with your highlight colors. With all the areas of Corax White now base coated again, I also note that I did his eyes and the Purity Seal. I'm going to cover all the rubber parts with Grief Charger Grey. Grief Charger Grey is now dry. I'm going to do now a coat of Black Templar. Our coat of Black Templar is now dry. I'm going to move to highlighting all the rubber parts. I'm using Fenrisian Grey for this. Our highlight of Fenrisian Grey is now finished. I'm going to do the last highlight. This is Sulfuan Grey, and I'm just going to do some dots right in the middle of the Fenrisian Grey highlight. With the black rubber parts finished, I'm going to move into base coating all the parts that will be black. This will be the trim on his shoulders and the leather pouches and belt. For this I'm using Downstone. I will also apply a coat of Wraithbone over his Aquila. With our base coats now done, I'm going to start with the Aquila. For this I'm going to layer Iyanden yellow. While I have Iyanden yellow on my palette, I'm going to also layer this on his eyelenses. But I'm going to do it not letting it pull. I just want a very thin layer of yellow in there. And I'm going to move to the last part of the armor, and that is his leather pouches and the black trim on his shoulders. For this I'm going to layer over all the parts that I base coated with Dawnstone using Black Templar. And I'm going to shade the Aquila a bit more. For this I'm using again Iyanden yellow. And what I'm going to do is apply it into the inner parts of the wings. Clean my brush and just feather out. With the second shading of Iyanden yellow applied, I'm going to do a final shading. This is Gore Grant Affair, and I'm going to apply this just in the deepest parts. With the grey contrast shade now finished, I'm going to move into highlights. And for this I'm just going to use Dawn Yellow and apply it in the most raised areas of the Aquila. With the Aquila now finished, I'm going to move into the leather and the black trim. For this I'm using Dawnstone and applying it as an edge highlight. Our highlights of Dawnstone are now done, and I'm going to move into the next highlight. This is Administratum Grey, and again as an edge highlight, just covering less area than previously. And lastly, I'm doing an extreme edge highlight with Fluent Grey. For the armor, this will be a single dot in the corners and where the light reflection goes. I'm going to do now his silences. Remember, we already did a very thin coat of Iyanden yellow, and now I'm going to do another coat of Warp Lightning. What I like to do is start in the lightest part and move my brush into the darker spot, which will be right there in the back. I'm going to do now a second coat in exactly the same way. our second coat of warp lining is dry, and I'm going to do a last shading. In this case is Dark Angel's green, and I'm going to do it just in the most backwards part of the lens. The Dark Angel's green is dry, and now I'm going to apply the highlights. For this I'm using Mood Green, and we'll just do a small line at the front. And for a final highlight I'm using Dawn Yellow, and I'm just going to do a small little dot here in the front of the lens. And for the last step I'm just going to do a small dot of white in the darkest part of the lens. I'm now going to move into his purity seal. I'm going to do his parchment first. For this I'm using a mix of 1 part wildwood and 4 parts contrast medium. Now the first coat is dry, I'm going to the second one, this time just where the parchment meets the wax seal. That second coat of wildwood is dry, and I'm going to layer Rackard flesh. And now I'm going to finish the parchment with Pallid Witch flesh. Now I'm using undiluted wildwood, and I will do the freehand on his parchment paper. Now I'm going to do his wax seal. For this I'm using Volupus Pink. Now to finish the purity seal, I'm going to do a couple of highlights on the wax with Ushabti Bone. Now I'm going to do all the metallic parts. For this I'm going to base coat them with Iron Breaker first. Our base coat of Iron Breaker is now finished, and I'm going to wash it. For this I'm going to use a mix of Black Templar with 4 parts contrast medium. That is 1 part Black Templar with 4 parts of medium. This is my new Noon oil, basically. For our last step, I'm going to highlight all the metal areas using Stormhold Silver. I'm just doing an edge highlight here, super simple. And with that last step, the model is finished and looking amazing. I'm super happy with this contrast marine. You want to see how I base it? You can check this video. That's all for today. I really hope you liked this video, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.